So just to begin with, I'll give an introduction of what all we are going to discuss, and then we can have introductions of our participants. So essentially, in the last webinar that we did, we got a lot of feedback that app developers, game developers are looking to understand more about user acquisition. And I mean, we've seen how the industry has changed over the last 10 to 15 years. All of we have been a part of it. I mean, gone are the days where you would launch an app and you start getting installs, or do some ASO tricks, and you start hitting some numbers. I think with changes that the Google has done in the ecosystem, everyone has to rely on paid acquisitions and having a strategy around acquiring users. And then obviously in the current trend, we see that even the likes of Google and Facebook are not enough as a platform, because there's a lot of different traffic sources, a lot of different areas where you can actually find users and good users. So we thought that it would be a good idea to gather some of the experts, some of the insights, some of the experience from the industry, and talk about this challenge that more and more developers are facing going forward. So just to kick things off, first I'll introduce myself, and then I'll probably hand it over to Ishank and Venus. So I am Arpit Jain. I am founder and CEO of GreedyGame, and we have recently launched a product called PubScale, where essentially we are working with a lot of app developers and game developers and helping them with both monetization as well as user acquisition. We provide insights, tools, and tips to ensure that they can successfully scale up their business without having to spend a lot of bandwidth on it. So that was me. Just I'll open this for Ishank next to share his introduction, and then we will go forward.
Thanks, Arpit, and pleasure to be part of this. And hi, guys. Great to be part of and talking to you and trying to understand what challenges we can solve. My name is Ishank. I am CEO and co-founder of a company known as Mobavenue Media. Precisely, we are a technology company. We started back in 2016, where focus was advertising and marketing. Over last 6 years, we've also focused towards advertising, marketing, and growth. Largely, we work with brands, and also developers these days, where we help them, optimize their ad campaigns. We try to maximize their ROI. We also help them, with user engagement, and also, helping them buy media across multiple channels, whether it is programmatic or maybe, social or some of the other channels that we were building with them. How we do that? We do that with our, ecosystem and a platform that we've built, which is known as Search. And we focus on closely commerce, gaming, and BFSI customers today. But we're working closely with big and small, big and mid-core developers to kind of help them with more user acquisition strategy. We closely work with somewhere around 250 plus brands today globally in India and some of the other regions, and obviously learning from people like Arpit and Venus. What problems we can solve more, and see how could we help people to grow more.
Great, thanks. And over to you, Venus, if you can tell a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, guys, for having me, and for all of you to join. So, guys, I'm working and building Appyhigh in a technology and product company. We are building products on the latest technologies, and we started with utility and tools and moved towards the productivity solution. Then we moved towards AI, and then eventually we're building in generative AI technology. And we have launched more than 50 to 60 mature products in general. And lately, we've been building APIs with which you can build a lot of generative AI apps and can be integrated in any product solution in general. And idea is like over the period of time, there's definitely a lot of learning. As Arpit said, like fundamentally, we would like to discuss like how things has been emerging over the ecosystem, right? And days are I mean, these days has been gone like when things were pretty easy earlier, where you can rank on you can take a dependency on a single keyword, or maybe do a growth hack around tricks and things that you've been doing. So yeah, would love to discuss what are the things which has been working right now, and yeah. Thanks.
Great. Great, Venus. Thanks for the intro. So, what I'll do is to begin with, just for us to have an understanding of the audience that we have a small poll where we'll get to know more about the users. So, can we have the poll, please? Great. So, guys, you can basically answer this poll while it is on the screen for a couple of minutes. And maybe meanwhile, I'll discuss some of the house rules and how we are going to go about this webinar. So, essentially, over the last couple of weeks, we've collected a few questions from the set of publishers who were interested in asking us, as well as there are certain things that we would like to cover in the webinar, which would obviously revolve around how the user journey is from in the app stage, like starting from awareness and then acquisition and then ultimately loyalty and retention. But for this particular webinar, we're obviously going to speak more on the acquisition part of it. What are the different channels there? If any attendees have any questions, feel free to put it up on the Q&A section that is there on the webinar, so that all of us can see that and take it up. We would go through our set of questions and the questions that we've already received first, and probably in the last half an hour, 45 minutes, we can take up questions from the audiences. So that is how we are going to go about it. I hope that all of you have filled in the poll questions. So can we see the results of it? Great. So till the time the results pop up, let me get started. Yeah, so we have the results here. And I think most of the audiences are looking to learn about user acquisition channels, which obviously is something that we're going to cover in deep. But people also want to understand what is the pros and cons of the Google and Facebook platforms, the platforms that we've been using, since a long time. So actually that leads into the first, discussion that I want to, bring up, which is around, Google and Facebook. So obviously we understand that Google and Facebook have been, the core channels, the go-to channels for everyone for a long time. I want to understand, like, from both of you, one by one, like, what do you think is the relevance of those channels right now? At what stage does a publisher need to actually, start looking at channels beyond Google and Facebook? So I'm assuming that you start with those channels because you have more information about them. But what is that stage that you go beyond Google and Facebook in your journey? So maybe Venus, you can take that first.
Sure. So for us as well, like we started with an ASO and moved towards Google Ads and been using Facebook ads around. But in general, like saturation typically comes with the kind of category that you're working in. And if you see that if the product is very deep, the competition is typically less. And if the product is not based on a single tool or something which entry to barrier is pretty less, moment your app is working or somebody's else app is working, you'll see like continuously a lot of people are coming and bidding for the same thing over Google. And in that case, the inventory get very high in general. And while demand is not meeting up, and at the same time, uh, typically in these tools, if you see like most of the time people are coming is specifically doing the core action which is there and you build for, and they learn over the period of time like where the ad has been placed, and they know like where to click, where not to click in general, and they typically go and directly use that tool, and by that time your numbers stop matching. Like you were earlier required at certain price and now the CPS are not matching because of the placements and the user behavior in general. And moment you start changing your design, retention start going off because people understand. And by that time, 10 new apps are there which is replicating you, right? So people tend to कि ये ऐप तो पहले जैसा लग रहा है यही यूज करूंगा उसमें. So in that case you fall in that loophole basically, and you started with, and but eventually you went into the same thing only. And then you start realizing ki, oh, I had too much reliance on one platform, and you start exploring, your product is working right. And this typically is a very natural behavior, but eventually we all need to understand like once you're starting the product, you should give your budget to 3 or 4 platforms on the go. Maybe you can keep your 30, 40, 50% of your budget towards Google and Facebook, and to give 50% towards trying new experiment. And what are those experiments? These can be anything, moving, starting from like YouTube campaign to specifically, and not talk about Google YouTube, but more talking about creator integration in general. Uh, Directly working with creator over there to work on the content marketing, to work with parallel channels like Iron Source and of course Mobavenue, and uh, like, so these are the different channels you go for. And then I jump on to another channels like uh, it can be SEO, it can be ASO, of course, in general. And what else that we can try in the early stage is also driven by LTV CAC ratio that your is coming along, right? And
Yeah.
so I guess these are the things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let me
What?
add on that. Venus, I think very rightly said. Some of our learnings while working with a decent sized brand, and obviously, when they launch a new app, a significant portion of their spends are on Google and are on Facebook. Because
Yeah.
they want to control, they want to understand the user behavior, and there is control over the bidding strategy there. Also on the creatives. Google mostly on the search side. So if your app or game is based on more search, then obviously you should spend more on Google. And then if it's more on creative side, then it should be more on Facebook. But having said that, once they reach somewhere around like 300, 400,000 users, which has they have been tested enough, they have tested the retention metrics, they have tested the product enough, then they start exploring some of the other channels. And some of the other channels, as you said, is we are seeing a very large and a decent chunk of money going today in video networks, like us, and Iron Source, Unity, Mlocos, Mintegral. These are some of the self-serve programmatic video channels which have very large excess of data, as well as they have able to provide you creative services for developers as well as for gaming publishers to help them scale their campaigns. Uh, there also are companies who, and of course, as a developer also, you should, work with creator ecosystem, where
Mhm.
we're seeing that the cost to acquire a customer today is little lesser as compared to when you go on a bidder mechanism on Google or Facebook, right? Because you're trying to build and trying to acquire users from their asset. It could be from TikTok, of course. India, you have banned in TikTok, but then there are platforms which are there, which are local. ShareChat is there, Josh is there. So how could you use that? Maybe putting up a small creative video, or doing with YouTube in India. It's not YouTube advertising, but doing more with the creator. How can you use their shorts? How can they use their Instagram handles? Those are some of the things that smart developers, I would say, are using with the
Mhm.
help of great content videos. They are bringing and getting their apps discovered. And as they start doing that at a scale, they are using tools, whether in India or outside India. Like, give you an example of a gaming company in US. They work with close to around 5,000 creators in the world,
Hmm.
and they only post about how to play the game. And acquiring a user at maybe at a $0.50, that's what they are scaling at, and they got almost 1 million downloads doing
Wow.
that. Now they're aiming next year. How do they work with maybe 10,000 at a scale? And they build up their own system inside that, reference system, mechanism system,
Yeah.
so that they can kind of understand more deeper which creators are performing better.
So from what I understand, I mean, based like the other platforms which are there obviously there is a value to go ahead and check those out. But from what I have kind of noticed, and a lot of publishers coming is saying is that trying out other platforms is also a challenge because you need some minimum budgets, right?
Yeah.
Whereas on Google and Facebook you can start with as small as like $1,000 a day, right?
Right.
And you can start getting 500, 1000 users to test your initial products out. So is there any other platform which you have seen, which can be on apps or specifically gaming, where you see that the ease of getting started is also there, and the quality, the expected quality is going to be there? Or are most of these platforms only should be gone on to once we have reached a particular threshold, like you mentioned?
So, I mean, yeah, we must first take it up, and because you from the developer ecosystem.
Apparently, for me, like I mean, when once we come to the cycle, like after 2 years or 3 years, we started doing all those extra channels. And earlier, there was a time when Google was working in general. Right now, we are there in state like where we can try different things. But I'll suggest early developers to try maybe creators where you
Yeah.
can reach out directly to the lot of YouTubers on Instagram by DMs. It takes some effort definitely, but yeah, if you are continuously reaching out guys, and you can easily convince them to come at a very cheaper price. And also, if you see, like a lot of creators are emerging in the geography, like Arunachal Pradesh, or maybe more from the Bihar or from the Andhra or from different places, who are generating the content in the native places.
Mhm.
And typically brands yet going for the creators, but they are going for the creators who are the mainstream, and after the mainstream, and they are still not reaching out those guys. Maybe
Right.
you can try reaching them, and which will be much more cheaper, and you can get the early user, early traction, and this can help you test out like how your product is reacting, whether this LTV get making sense or not. Or yeah. And the good part with the creator is like there are too many and so many categories out there, and
Yeah.
you just need to identify, and in each of the category you'll find hundreds of creators then, right? And if
Mhm.
any category over working there, you can easily scale in general. And the best part about this is you can do the horizontal play in any country in that case, like
Right.
by just working on this strategy. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ishank,
basically,
last
we
thoughts.
yeah. So we kind of put it things into two parts, which is biddable media and non-biddable media.
Okay.
In a biddable media, Google, Facebook is there, but there is Snapchat, there is Quora, there is Reddit. All of these also have their ad platforms. You can
Yeah.
really put in maybe $500
Okay.
and try to discover, your app or game there. And also depends on what region. TikTok in India is kind of bad, but globally
Yeah.
TikTok has been emerging as a great UA channel.
Mhm.
Yeah, beyond Google and Facebook, and of course that is because of the creators
Yeah.
ecosystem, and there is large amount of users there. In the network, like you said, the video networks, all these large video networks, including us, we also would want to work with developers, but at the end of the day, what we would want some sort of a minimum commitment. Maybe it is $1,000, $5,000, and we will do the UA for them, we will do the growth for them, right? What is required is helping them to get those creatives right, because all these, while Google is a large search platform,
Yeah.
how do you play with your creatives? How you play with your app? How do you are able to give that message to the user, which plays a very very important role. While you are developing some of the other network approach.
Is it is the creative play, I mean, as strong in the other DSPs as well beyond Google and Facebook? Like, do we still need to work with multiple creatives if you're using, let's say, a TikTok or a Snap platform for advertising?
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. You need to keep doing different variations, try out, and at the same time, these channels are Snap, and specifically, what else you mentioned? Like Snap and
TikTok.
TikTok, TikTok,
TikTok.
Reddit
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Reddit is more on
Well,
search. Quora is more on search.
correct, correct. So these is specifically meant for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the fatigue typically comes in general very soon. So I guess you always aspire to keep trying. So even if your one campaign is working, keep finding new and new creatives along with the same thing. Yeah.
Got it. And now that we're talking about more creator side of things and influencers, right? So we've also seen like few influencer platforms come up, right? In India as well as globally, right? So I mean, like, have you seen these influencer platforms actually providing that value? In a lot of cases, I see publishers try to reach out directly and fix directly with the creators. So is there an advantage to some of these platforms?
Again, like, so
Yeah.
this is also again with the minimum budget play out there, right?
Okay.
So if you want to work with a good agency, right, they'll again ask for the minimum budget, and the same problem you are facing the other platforms as well, right?
Yeah.
So the best approach is to directly reach out your guys, which you
Hmm.
think can work out in general
Right.
for you. This is the only approach. Otherwise, more you go to the agency, they'll first try to maximize the creator commissions and then his own commission, right? And then they'll work with you. And but at the same time, like getting a creator by doing a DM is not that difficult. I mean, getting
Yeah.
5 or 10 to post for you is very easy.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's a kind of easy job. At a scale, it becomes a really difficult.
At a scale,
Yeah,
it's working out, then you can reach out to any agency
yeah,
out there.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Got it.
I think Venus, we started experimenting. I think with you also and some of the other platforms on PR and press side, right? Which is again a more popular tool today being used by the gaming or the large
Mhm.
developers to kind of build links and start getting bit of traction there. So
Yeah.
not that expensive, but still early days. If your product is stable, your
Yeah.
retentions are good, then those tools gonna be even more exciting.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. So yeah, I think now we can move towards probably the organic acquisition part, where we'll talk more about the ASO stuff and what all publishers need to keep in mind while doing it. So I'm just putting some of the pillars of scaling up apps, and it's been gathered by the experts sitting here only. And these are some of the things which we look out while we are looking at the success of an app. And definitely we'll be deep diving into acquisition part of it, which would include getting metrics from the other pillars as well. So before kind of moving forward, just at this stage, I want the second poll to come in, where we would also want to understand what is the stage where a lot of apps are. So can we have the second poll, please? Great. So guys, if you can just fill in this poll and let us know what stage your app is, so it would be easier for us to spend more time on the relevant part of the content. Now, in parallel, talking about these 5 pillars and specifically coming into ASO. I would like to ask Venus, right, who has scaled a lot of apps from the ASO, majorly using the ASO techniques. Obviously, product and everything else goes hand in hand. But what have your experience been, in scaling up some of the initial apps in Appyhigh, especially when you start? What is a frame of mind, and then once you reach a certain threshold, how does that need to change to continue growing, right? Because it is not that I think that there's an art and a science, right? There are few hits which can come in, some things can go viral, but when you do it with app over app over app, then there has to be some science which goes along with it. So we'd like to understand that, if you can share more on that.
Sure. Sure. So basically, yeah, in general, ASO, if you talk about ASO, I mean, it's divided into 3 or 4 different buckets. Things that you should typically focus on in general, and I'm talking about back to 2015. In that case, ASO was just a couple of things like top of the funnel metrics, like you have entered your right keyword and your graphics look good and you've got some reviews with a high rating. That's it. If these 3 or 4 checkpoints are there, you're good to go in general. These things are still important, definitely. Uh, but at the same time, over the period of time, like number of apps which are continuously increasing on the Play Store, like and the competition is continuously increasing. At the same time, Google also started focusing on quality from quantity, and they want to become App Store. Like App Store has more revenue, App Store has better quality, right? And they want to become App Store. And if they want to become App Store, in that case, Apple always focus on product first. It was never about ASO over there, right? We don't do ASO. Like we all don't do typically, talk about ASO on App Store in general, right? Or if we do, like it's pretty basic. Like it's just giving less time compared to what we are talking for Play Store.
Yeah.
So yes, in today's world, they want to become Apple Store, and for that they are focusing on product quality. And if they are focusing on product quality, it all drill down to first thing is how's your product in general, and it typically starts from onboarding and the core feature, whether it is matching with your marketing or the ASO that you've been doing, right? And whether people are completing the core action or not. These are the first set of things, and then there are certain things which I mentioned on the screen, which is your crash scores, your Android Vital score, uh, user ratings and reviews, basically how you, whether you're working on negative stars or not, like whether you're improving and ensuring that these things are getting closed, and your retention number. Retention number is again the quality, in a sense, onboarding and completing the core action, and whether they are continuously opening the app in a frequent basis, right? So these are the certain things which Google is now focusing on. And the good part is like everybody on level, like same level right now, because nobody was focusing that much, and everybody focusing on the App Store side, or the, I mean, the front end side of
Yeah.
things. And now, so it's more about continuously increasing your quality score. And the good part is people are now start focusing on, and if you get into this part very early, you'll continuously realize that part. And if you would have noticed, like if you're putting a unique app on the Play Store right now, you get a early traffic very fast, and then it keep on growing for 3 or 4 days, and eventually, if the product quality is not good, it start falling off automatically. And it was the exact same trend which used to happen on App Store. Like,
Oh,
so Google is trying to replicate those trends as well, like here in terms of the quality per se. And but apart from that, other things which are definitely important is keyword, the screenshot, assets, app icon, these things that you're using, and along with the ratings and reviews. So for the keyword search, typically you divide it into primary, secondary, and tertiary keywords. And tertiary keywords are the least focus on. Secondary is mid one, and primary are the one which you want to focus on, where you feel your app is 100% aligned. And don't go for things like where, for example, you see a lot of traffic, but the feature is not there in your app. Earlier,
yeah.
people used to do a lot of things like this, right? You get a volume, and eventually the retention is very less. You end up making money, but
Hmm.
these things are typically fall off now very fast. Maybe you can make a money for a week or 2 week, but the effort would be much more compared to the things that you've been done to reach over there. So focusing on fundamentals and match with the keyword your app, and then if people are coming with that keyword launching your product, 100% chance they would love to attempt your core action. But अब core action होगा या नहीं होगा, it depend upon how was your onboarding, how
Hmm.
many ads, how they were placed, what was the loading rate, all those things. And once you press on CTA, how long it takes to give me the output and end result, right? So these
Right.
are the things eventually will come to. But yeah, but typically if I talk about explore section, like a lot of downloads we see from the explore, right?
Yeah.
And so although it's just a black box though, like, but we try to categorize like what are the things which can maybe impact in getting the different position on explore is typically once you get feature on a top charts or a similar, or can appear in trends
Hmm.
typically is now merged with the overall charts with the new design of Play Store. But yeah,
Yeah.
and relatedness also related with the similar apps only in the end of the day. But eventually you get feature, your quality is good, you get into top chart, by just increasing the volume. No matter how is your product quality, if you have a hack to get a download, you can still can become the number one app in general, and that can give you more organic volume. But yeah, you should have the unlimited supply for that, which is not technically possible, right? So the third is similar app. Similar app is basically to do with the whether you have a similar functionality check, and then the similar check on features that you have mentioned on the ASO side, like in your keywords or a long description or a short description in general. And now here is the catch: if you start copying those keywords, then you will not get a more advantage. I mean, if it's a primary secondary keyword maybe, but typically try to use the synonyms of those words, where in a algorithm, it should sound like you're not copying it, but at the same time this is a similar behavior in the same thing, along with the match of the feature as well, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess these are the things which are there in typically top of the things which we should do as an ASO in general. And A/B testing, of course, which I missed on, like not written on this sheet, but A/B testing is something important. A/B testing is this typically you do on screenshots, you do on long description or a short description or an app icon. So yeah, I guess these are the things
So
typically.
Venus, I mean, is there any change once you reach a good number of downloads in your ASO strategy for the same app? Is it something that you need to do one time and then it optimizes, or is it something that you need to do iteratively? And what are the significant changes when you reach beyond, let's say, 10 million downloads or 50 million downloads?
यार टिपिकली उसके बाद ऑर्गेनिक आना बंद हो जाता है, because you're already there on the top of keywords, right?
Right. Hmm.
In general, and if you want to rank on a new keyword which is a different category, you have to remove your primary keyword. And if your
Right.
app is that strong, if your app is not that strong, other guy will come and take over your place, and then you start losing on the first category that you built for, right?
Hmm.
Again, it's the kind of dilemma where you end up making a new app eventually, rather than to to keep going in this. And other smart strategies to focus on your brand once it's really popular, if you think,
Yeah.
then like PixArt or Truecaller or UC browser earlier, right?
Hmm.
uh, so they focus on the functionality, and definitely they were category first. Or if you become that utility or a product or a app which is category first, or like top two or three
Yeah.
in general, then the chances are very high that your brand get popular, and in that case you can keep trying a lot of new things in your product in general. But because the idea is not like SEO, no, like where you have unlimited space to put your content out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has like title
Right.
is like 30 words, 30 letters, like, right? And a short description is like 80 letters, right? So
Hmm.
I mean, there's no like room for even putting a keyword stuffing, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
you'll just place your one keyword, that's it.
Right.
And so yeah, I guess that's it. And rating and reviews, I guess one key important part is ratings and reviews are important. But if you go
Hmm.
for the reviews, Google will penalty you. Google
Right.
will your reach. Don't try this thing in today's time. Don't even think about it like in general. Rather try to make a small community who are your backers, who will
Hmm.
not delete the app at least for 1 or 2 or 3 4 5 months, and maybe opening an app for you. Like if you have those set of people in your community, which can be family members or your co-workers or something like that,
Yeah.
uh, this still works. But don't go for the review part, like in general. uh,
Yeah.
Right.
Also, Ishank, you were mentioning something about PR, right? And I see backlinking
Hmm.
here. So, I mean, is it a good idea for every app to have a website and then do some PR and do some backlinking? And what is a way to approach it? If you can just give a initial idea about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So depends on the utility of your app, right? And I'm sure if you are just building a basic utility app, a website won't make much of a difference. But
Mhm.
if it is like a photography app or anything else which requires consumer to get and understand your product more, then definitely a website is required. What we are also seeing is, as the bidding on Google or Facebook keeps getting expensive and expensive,
Yep.
because a lot of people are bidding for the same set of users in the app ecosystem. You can also use website as a web to mobile journey.
Yeah.
You can bring people. I mean, that's like smart. People are
Yeah.
trying to do that. They are bringing people at a cheaper price on a web
Right.
or a mobile web ecosystem, and then bring them to the app ecosystem. And they are more retained user. Because
Because
you
it's
can tell lot of
conversion.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things on that web page versus on a Google Play you
Right.
can't do it, right? As Venus said, I want to use creators telling what is the purpose of this app or maybe certain videos around it. I'm
Yeah.
not able to do that maybe on a Google Play small link which is available, but that
Yeah.
I can do that with multiple landing pages, and pushing people from that side to your platform. The other is, of course, PR in that case is working closely with better DA websites, pushing them about review of your app.
Yeah.
That brings a lot of content. People can discover your app there. Lately, we've been seeing that at least the established brands started doing that. Doesn't cost that much of money, but yeah, that's a great way. But as what Venus said, these days Google have been becoming more and more stricter.
Mhm.
You try to find out a hack, they know it's a hack, so they're gonna just delete your app or delete your account, right? And so focus on building good product, focus
Yeah.
on building good retention, and then you would able to drive more better growth.
Got it. Great, guys. So moving forward, I think we missed out getting the results of the poll. We asked
Huh.
users to fill in, so we been just have that in the meanwhile. And I think beyond this, then I would want to go towards the paid marketing and the acquisition part of the seminar. Just if you look at the results, there are probably equal number of people who are about to launch and
Wow.
who are in the scaling up stage. So we have both the extremes. So I think we have to cover both the
सब
sides.
डिस्कस करवाएंगे लोग
That's right. Right. So yeah, great. So I mean, obviously, like Venus mentioned, like ASO is definitely something very, very important to get some initial users, but also to keep on getting a base number of users to your app if you are able to get a keyword. And then obviously you kind of bump it up with your paid channels. I think even if you are doing a lot of paid marketing, it is very important to have a good page, Google Play page, where the conversion
Yeah.
rates become very important, right? So whatever
Right.
money you're
Right.
spending to get them converted onto the app. So yeah, so let's move on to the next question, where I wanted to ask Ishank, right? So you mentioned that you work on growth marketing, right? So I
Yeah.
wanted to understand, like, what is growth marketing, and what stage do the publishers need to think about growth marketing?
Right, right. So growth overall comes from multiple channels. It's just not, it is coming from you spending dollars to the problem. Growth
Hmm.
also comes up, how you are building your product,
Hmm.
how's your onboarding journey, how is your retention journeys, how are
Right.
you building your CRM and loyalty system inside your app,
Hmm.
or your product, right? So across the journey, right from acquisition to retention, to your creatives, to your content, to again building communities. What Venus said, you should have a community. If you are starting or developing an app today, start building with community. Start trying to talking to your community, about the problem that they're facing, and then from there go for a journey of building apps. Like, just don't say that, okay, I'm just gonna copy somebody and and try to rank
Yeah.
myself and then kind of grow the app. So across the 360 degree, right from acquisition to your product, to your engagement metrics, how your app is performing on day one, day seven, day 30th. Are your users are retaining or not? What all marketing stack are you using? And Venus and team does great job in that sense in terms of using a great stack. So
Hmm.
we kind of help developers and brands to build the right sort of stack It's because today the life cycle of an app is very very less.
Right.
They just kind of download it. If the utility is there, they will use it. Within 7 days or 6 days or 3 days, they will uninstall it. If your app is buggy, they will uninstall it even more faster, maybe in a day
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So whatever paid activities you could do, that will all go on toss if your
Yeah.
product is shit.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we try to do with brands and developers, also closely working with their teams in terms of growing across the
Mm.
journey. And once you reach a scale, then while you're retaining the users, how to remarket them, how to bring these users back to your app, because they have already identified maybe your app was buggy at first time, but how you
Mm.
can bring them back again, because you build a better app, you build a better game, there's a
Mm.
better mechanism there. So that's typically what we kind of say growth marketing consists of, just
So
not
from, yeah,
getting
so from
download.
what I understand it's more starting from the product per se,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
figuring out, what your funnels are like probably, right? Where are you losing out users? Is it on the
Hmm.
first page itself, or are they, getting into some of the loops of your app? And are they able to reach to the core loop where you
Core
are,
loop,
making the money from the user?
right?
So I mean, you mentioned a stack that people need to maintain. So are there any tools which you or Venus can recommend, so that like publishers can understand where the stack, like how the funnel is looking like, what are the areas where they need to focus on?
Hmm. Hmm.
Great. So I think the lowest stack is about first tracking the user, right? What are they
Hmm.
going to do inside the app? So GA does that, but then there
Yeah.
are other tools like Mixpanel is there. Then there is attribution tools such as
Hmm.
Apps Flyer, Adjust, Singular. All of them kind of help you go much more deeper inside the app, that what your app is, what your user going to do down the line. What is that one event, your one core loop that you want to really track and say, yes, this is
Hmm.
one that event which brings me the same set of users, and I can kind of focus on that set of users because they are giving me better growth.
Right.
There is definitely notification platforms which are available. Firebase does the great job, but then there is more engage of the world to bring the user back to drive engagement with them, kind of start off with better onboarding journeys. uh, 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 there is a tool like Purchasely, which me and Venus were experimenting with for
Hmm.
subscription business. Like how do you manage your users from first day of a onboarding journey? How can you customize offers for them
Hmm.
to at the end of the day, to the last funnel, which is they started using from free to a purchase user, or they became a subscriber to your product.
Yeah.
So these are some of the tools which are available, but the stack is pretty much standard. But you can use more and more tools. But the
Yeah.
important part is use the tools which maybe 3 to 4 tools at
Hmm.
all the journeys, right
Hmm.
from starting acquiring user,
Hmm.
looking at second level of journey of engagement, and the third is monetization. So that's very critical. You don't used to use 10 tools.
Hmm.
Developers won't kind of like that.
Got it. Got it. Venus, you have any suggestions on tools maybe for the marketing, growth marketing, or even for the understanding of the user behavior, or even before that, like identifying the market, let's say?
Yeah.
Sure. So for identifying the market, you can go for the keyword search tool in general,
Mhm.
and where you can try a tool like Sensatar, Mobile Action, or like App Annie or now Data.ai, right? So you
Mhm.
can use that, and apparently these tools are very mature now, which talks about right from the keyword search to identifying your competitors, identifying the growth volume for different categories, right?
Right.
And you can also spy your competition ads, like what people are running ads. Now Google also giving the same feature though, but in general you can check for the ads that your competitor is running, and then you can benchmark your apps against other apps, like in terms of engagement or quality score in general, although these metrics are not they are predictive metrics, not the guesstimations, and
Yeah.
these guesstimations are very far sometimes from the reality. But
Yeah.
it can give you the indexing in general. You know your app number and what other app has been suggesting, whether it's 2x, 3x of your number, right? And this can give you an idea like what is the extra things that you can do in order to reach at that stage.
Hmm.
So in that sense, like I'm using SensorDAR and it's very broad in that sense.
Hmm.
Also use a couple of more tools which are related with the ASO only, but mostly 90% job has been done by this tool. Apart from that, I do use Firebase very frequently in general, along with this Microsoft Clarity. This is again
Clarity.
as uh, which give you this is more like giving you a heat map of your product, where people
Okay.
are clicking and how they are reacting towards your product in general.
For apps as
And
well.
yeah, for
Yeah.
apps,
For
for
apps.
apps. And for A/B testing, we typically do Firebase only in general. And then CleverTap, we were using a lot. Now we
Hmm.
have got our own notification engine though, but yeah, like CleverTap is something which is very good in general and got more parallel tools along with it, which are competitive to CleverTap, of course.
Yeah.
So I guess these are the tools I'm using very frequently in
Yeah.
general.
And
And
just to add,
other tools are
add
attribution of these, yeah, these Ishank already mentioned, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think even before discovery of finding that beyond the spy tools, there are also today I think all these platforms, whether it is Facebook, Google, TikTok, Snapchat, they have their ad transparency,
Yeah.
which is available. You can even search for what sort of creatives which have been working on, what other developers are kind of using. Does it make more sense? And do some experiments on that. So those are also some sort of discovery tools you can definitely use.
With the ads transparency thing, I remember that obviously now you mentioned that there's a lot of creatives that we need to put in, right, to
Right.
get the right conversion rates. And generative AI has been picking up, right, in terms
Yeah.
of making those creatives. We've seen a lot of publishers already, putting up 500,000 creatives every day to
Hmm.
test. So obviously, one thing is you need to have a budget to test those many creators as well. But are there any Gen AI tools that you specifically have in mind regarding ads creatives that you have seen so far, or is it or some
Yeah,
is this a
you
tool in
can
the
go to
making?
our tool
You
only,
can,
photo.
yeah, photo.ai.
Photo, not photo, it's PHOT.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's
cut the O
kind of.
from. So it's like a unit of photon in general, energy, and also the unit of photo in general. So we've got these tool like text to image generator where you can try new backgrounds, new content. We are also building studio where you can add your text and create the CTA copy and the ad copy. These tools are also going live in general.
Is there
And
anything specific related to ads that these tools can offer, or the intelligence that an ad creative needs specifically?
so typically, if right now if somebody want to use Canva is the go-to platform you should go for in that case,
Okay.
or because Canva has all those advanced features right now, but most of the other tools which are coming in generative AI, they'll give you the text to image capabilities, and that is there anyway on the product that I mentioned, Photo.ai in general.
Yeah.
And apart from that, Canva is something which you use right now to create, and I guess it also allow you to create videos along with the directory of content. So yeah, it works very good in that
I
case.
mean, there are smaller tools, like smaller agencies which are able to help you create creator videos. But then if you're building apps and games and you're trying to build that journey, especially for games, we kind of experiment with MindWorks.
Hmm.
It's a tool of wherein you can they can help you create your HTML5 version of the games. It can create videos
Label
for your
ads.
games. Yeah, playable
Even
ads, right? Typically, and these days even playable ads for your apps are making better CTRs. At least people can discover that. Google is also starting Google Instant, which is definitely, you're trying to experiment with any product that you want to do it. So definitely, those are some tools that you could use.
Got it. Thanks, guys. So moving on, there's one poll question that we would like to float in the meanwhile. And then parallelly, we would like to, discuss on some of the paid, acquisition tools or DSPs, right? So first of all, like, what is a DSP? If you can explain it in a very simple terms, Ishank, since you run a DSP yourself. And then, what are the DSPs that, publishers should look at, maybe on, gaming side specifically, and then a little bit about the non-gaming as well. So, so like we saw our audience. So one set of publishers are very, very new, young, who's just starting up. Is there any tool, any DSP for them? And then obviously there's a segment who's scaling up. So there you can take the liberty to, name as many as possible.
Got it. Great. So if you see, today the users, 35 to 40% of the user generally are on Google and Facebook and, some of the other social channels. Another 65% of the users are on the open web. They are using some of the other apps, and they are the same set of users. Either they are on the same set of users, but maybe they are, using some of the other things. And that's what, DSPs at a scale, kind of help you discover the users, similar users, but, not coming from the walled gardens. Because when you're at a walled garden, you are paying a premium to be at a walled garden. Of course, there is a large scale. There is no doubt about that. But also, the similar sort of users are available on the other platforms, and it requires you to build that creative layer to get that user because they are not searching. You kind of excite them for your product. So that's that's what a DSP does. It kind of help you acquire users from the other 65% of the ecosystem, which is in kind of open web. At like today we at Mobavenue we serve around 50 billion impressions a day. There are some of the large DSPs which are available. Mintigrill is one, Unity Ads is one, Iron Source today, combined app plugin is there. Muloko is there. So these are some of the 4 or 5 DSPs wherein you can start your journey. And all these DSPs work with developers, by the way. We work with developers, we work with gaming developers. The idea is to help them, start early, and but if they don't have the stack of maybe tracking, because on Google and Facebook you can run ads, and you can track through GA. But through platforms like us, we would need a much more deeper understanding, because at back end we are also trying to understand the journey of the user. How can we get you a better user? We don't interact with the SDKs as much. Like Google and Facebook have an SDK themselves, and some of the DSPs today are working towards SDK too.
Right. So I understand, like, for tracking specifically, we all need something which is called an MMP, mobile platform. And and I mean, if we can integrate any one of the MMPs which are there, I'm sure all the DSPs would be accessible, right? So if we use, for example, Apps Flyer or Adjust or Singular, should be able to run campaigns on all the DSPs. Is that correct, Shan?
Yes, you can run campaigns across all the DSPs. There is also, for a developer to understand, when you run through across 10, 15 media channels, including whether it is biddable, DSPs, or even your, let's say PR content or creators, you need to give them unique links. That's how you're going to track down the line from which sources your traffic and your users are coming from. So, that really kind of helps developers at an early stage if you take that call up, and you anyways with these attribution platforms you're anyways paying them for the paid media, not your organic media. So that's one of the bottleneck, but if you have that, we would love to kind of work with developers. We start with $1,000.
Any DSPs you have seen working for your apps beyond Google and Facebook, obviously?
We worked with Mintegral, Iron Source, Mobavenue, of course, and we also tried couple of more like Smart App. There was some called Smart
Yeah.
App
Yeah.
earlier. It was there, right? But yeah, I guess this is more about varies app to app in general, and give you result differently, like behavior is typically differently, and based on the different inventory has been onboarded by these set of DSPs, right? So I guess these are three or four that I work with in general.
Any specific advantages or disadvantages of these, or any one of them, if you would like to point out?
Disadvantages in general, as such, um, it is more about you went to them because you're not happy with Google and
Yeah.
you don't want to find too many disadvantages. You want to see whether it's working or not working,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if it's working, you keep scaling your budget and or you move to different DSP, right? And so that's how typically taking your decision. But mediation typically we use a lot in general at our end, in general, which help us in general optimizing the overall revenue.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, we'll be moving to the next section, which is going to be around, loyalty and remarketing, which Ishank also mentioned. So maybe we can have the results of the last poll. Yeah. Great. So yeah, I mean, this is something that we could all, I think, predict. Most of the people are using Google and social, which includes Facebook. But yeah, I mean, hopefully people would start at least trying out other DSPs post this webinar. That's the whole idea. So yeah, so I mean, moving on to the retargeting side. So Ishang, you mentioned that retargeting is also important part of your growth marketing stack, and creating getting back the users who are inactive, or creating more loyalty among the active users, or making sure that users are with you in your journey. Like, how do you do that specifically? What are the ways in which you go about retargeting your, let's say, users who are dead on the app?
Great. I mean, first is of course your CRM and notification system will kind of bring them to your app, or you kind of delight them through an email. Some of the developers also now using WhatsApp channels. These brands are moving them to a WhatsApp kind of create communities there and bringing them back to the app. But these are your standard CRM channels kind of work towards bringing the user back. More on the digital side, while there is Google and social platforms, through which you can remarket, there are like platforms like us, Criteo, which also helps you bring the same set of users, kind of define the audiences at your end, and bring those users from open web. You like with UA, you can work with maybe 10 to 15 channels, but
Yeah.
specifically with remarketing, you kind of work with 3 to 4 channels. It could be a search channel, it could be display, it could be social, and few of the other alternate remarketing platforms which are available to bring the user back. Because the more number of channels, you will not able to understand from where the user is coming back, and there would be a lot of cannibalization which kind of happens. So lesser there would be making more sense. Focus on more CRM activity there. Definitely
And what
going
what
to
uh, what kind of data would be needed to a publisher to do any kind of retargeting, right? So I mean,
Hmm.
I understand that it should be targeted towards a user ID or some data of the user which I can retarget. So is there
Right.
something that I need at my end to go to a platform and say that I want to retarget these users?
I for Google and social, I think it's it's in their SDK that already been placed, so it's quite easy for people to kind of retarget them.
Yeah.
For other platforms, you need again, as I said, an MMP in place, so that the reason is why, because your audience are being built at your end. I mean, you can also do SFTP transfer, which is simply giving up the audiences to the platforms, and they can bring the users back.
And
But that's a bit longer.
sorry to cut, by audiences, you mean the advertising IDs, right?
Yes, by
Okay.
advertising ID. So,
Got it.
so all these platforms also give that as a solution, but that's a bit longer journey and which painful for any developer to do that. So you want to retarget them at the right time. Uh, Hence, the focus is platform in between really increases and approachability to the problem is better.
Okay, okay. And I've also talked to a few publishers who use notifications very well to actually, reignite the dead users, right? So how do we, like, is there a strategy to go about notifications, or is it just like keep on hitting the
Hmm.
user, be at it, and you will start seeing users coming back on your app?
I think Venus does that beautifully. I think they have built a notification system of their own, while working with so many of the notification platform. But cohorting the notification and your users in different buckets rather than just spamming them, is something which is not working these days. But Venus, you want to put some light on?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would want to discuss there are a couple of things that are there. Is one is those kind of notification which is related with the life cycle of the user, and second are the notification which is related with the features that you have been building, uh, or the things that you want him to do. Third are the notification which is specifically triggered for the engagement purposes, right? So I guess ultimately idea is at a grassroots level you want your user to use your app in general.
Yeah.
That's the first thing out of notification that you would want to see, right? And so I guess you should divide this notification based on these three strategies. uh, and the first is related with the life cycle marketing, where you do how many people are doing app opens, how many going to the next screen, how many doing the core action, how many of them are not coming back, how many are, so based on that, make the entire funnel out there. And for each of the funnel, like you divide, segment your users in general, and right from who are your loyal user to less frequent user to, people who are dormant or not using your product, people who use it. So based on that, you can do the categorization, and then it comes to the part like, uh, based on their stage, try to match that communication, like in general, whether you and the kind of tone that you would want to use, of course, and the creative along with it, right? These are the combination of three things that you have to try. It
Hmm.
required a lot of A/B testing in general, and I feel you should do this kind of an activity once all the other things has been fixed.
Right.
Because these are the kind of things you are doing the optimization when 70, 80, 90% of things has been done.
Yeah.
Now you are going to the next steps, right?
Hmm.
And then you should aspire to optimize these things. Second, notifications are which are typically very small is very easy relatively, and they are engagement notification. Um, for example, you are building in a certain category. I'll take an example of Ixigo trains
Hmm.
in general, which typically has a train users who
Hmm.
do PNR search to a train booking, let's say, right? And a lot of India Railway is so big, there's continuously news coming in, something interesting story coming in, something coming for the entire context, right?
Hmm.
So they keep pushing those stories around it, and people are relatively, they know that if it's coming from Ixigo trains, we are okay to see the railway story, right? They,
Yeah.
in general. And similarly, for a fitness product, for example, you are a product as basic as water reminder or as basic as like
Yeah.
fitness coach, online fitness coach, right? You can trigger a lot of content which is related to your category, and
Hmm.
definitely कंटेंट वैसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आगे फिर से आपने 6 ऐड लगा रखे और 3 लाइनें लिखी हुई हैं, राइट? It cannot be that content, right? It should have some engagement element in the entire thing, right? Whether it
Right.
could be a listicle format or it could be like a good overall paragraph written with a good imagery. But yeah, I guess these kind of are engagement notification which are relatively easy. And the good part about is you can test it very easily by sending a notification from guys like who are good at writing a content, right?
Hmm.
Uh, you can try their content as well to check whether good CTR is coming or not. And if
Right.
it is like writing a content is pretty is we already know like it can be done with the help of ChatGPT now as well. You want to
Yeah.
engage, you don't want to create a unique content for an SEO. So there's a
Hmm.
difference. So you can do
Right.
that. easily.
So is CTR obviously it's one of the metrics to track the performance of notifications, but like if let's say someone is not using notifications at all, it's not a part of the strategy, and they start using notifications, what kind of a bump can they see in some of the metrics like DAUs, for example, or reactivations or things like that? Have you seen any?
So you'll never find a very crazy jump over there. Yeah. I mean, it's always a marginal jump, like 5-10%, 15%, unless or until you come with a sale where you're giving a flight at 999 rupees, right? So if you have that kind of a thing, then definitely you can get 5x, 10x of the volume. It is always the extra. So that's why I'm saying no. So work on these strategies, because so ultimately point here है ना कि there are now more than 50 apps which are there on the phone. Everybody sending a notification. So that's the major thing, and it's there in every so user can't pay the attention. Now these products are emerging, or notification cleaner, right? जो हम में से किसी ने बनाया होगा. So so I guess नहीं चलेगा उतना ज़्यादा. It'll always be a marginal jump. That's why I'm saying focus on first 70, 80, 90% strategy in general, and yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys. So just moving on to the final part of the webinar, and also then we'll start taking some of the questions. One question I had was regarding the Apple search ads, right? So, I mean, of late, we've seen a lot of publishers, utilizing ASA for promoting the iOS apps. So, Ishank, have you specifically worked on Apple search ads, or do you have any context or any information that you can share with publishers?
Yes. With latest, with Apple Search Ads, we use like we've been building platform, but presently we use Mobile Action and Search Ads. Typically, globally, we work closely with their teams in India and Asia to provide support and helping the brands and developers to kind of use it better. Definitely, we're seeing a lot of traction on Apple because of one, there is better LTV. We've seen that better, and also if it is a subscription app, it is working better, right? So if you're building apps which are subscription based, definitely Apple is the first GTM that you should do rather than just start building apps for Google, because very less monetized on Google. So even on Apple, I think there are a lot of things, and you need to have certain structure of campaigns, which you need to build on the platform. And the search, the Apple search ads, bidding platform is very, very archaic, right? It doesn't allow you automation. It doesn't allow you, deeper metrics. It doesn't allow you much of the other details. And hence, there are platforms which have been built on top of it, kind of, help you better to cover your UA. So there's a lot of things that Apple is trying to do, but we've been experimenting with that.
If you have an app on Apple, then definitely that is a platform that you need to try, right? Since you're mentioning it's high LTV and it goes along well.
Yeah, I think if you have an app on Apple, you've been tested it, you should definitely try Apple Search Ads. It's giving a better return than you running ads on just on Google or Facebook, because a lot of time you're not able to track them, and then you will feel that your ads are not performing well, and since it's not performing well, you feel like it's not working well for your app. So better first try with ASA. And then maybe start moving towards the other platforms there.
Got it. Cool. So great. I think that brings us to the end of our discussion, whatever I had planned. And thanks a lot for answering all of those questions. We have some. I'll just open open this for any Q&A to come in. You guys can type your questions on the Q&A tab, and then all of us would be able to take it. Now, like I mentioned, we had some questions in advance from some of the attendees, and probably just like to start that, and you can take it up in terms of answering those. So one question which is there is what is the cost per install, or what is the bid that we start off with in any let's say DSP? Till the time we don't have any data, it's a new app. What should be in our mind in terms of, this should be the bid? How much research should, we put in as a publisher when we are starting a campaign for a new app?
I think great question. It depends on a couple of factors. One, which region you want to promote your app on. So every DSP has a certain benchmark of a minimum bid, minimum floor price which is required. Depends on your region as well as on the category of the app, right? So the best would be to kind of ask with those DSPs, your support staff, that what could be the minimum amount of bid. But generally, in India, you've seen it somewhere around, point, uh, uh, point 1 to point 2 is a good to start, and then kind of go deeper on it. You would not get much traffic on those bids, but as you kind of increase a bid slowly and steadily, you will start getting more and more traffic. So in US, it is definitely higher. You need to start with a minimum of, I think, 0.75 to $1. That's a minimum one which
$0.75 is the CPI bid that you're mentioning, or is it like a CPM bid?
Most of these bidders today are working towards CPI. Yeah, CPA side. The CPMs definitely would be higher, but yeah.
Yeah, got it.
I mean, they have the option to optimize towards CPI.
Yeah. I got this one more interesting question is like, how do you set phase-wise CACs, right? So when you're looking at your ROI or LTV for day 7, day 30, day 60, how do you set like this is going to be my CAC for day 7, or till the time I don't know what is going to happen in 30 days or 60 days or 5 months, right? How do I benchmark my CACs, and like how do I do it for different channels when I'm using multiple channels?
So typically, if you have a VC funded business, definitely you don't care about this. You will just spend, bro. And बाकी तो यार in general, CAC typically are driven by LTV in general, and uh, and LTV is driven by how mature is your product, and that is typically go back to two things. One is stickiness, second is retention, right? These are the two things eventually which are the core level metrics where you have to work on in general. So as a number, we always try to aspire like if the product is a very early stage, you just know in the product, the product is not that great. You just want to become profitable on that app. So we typically aspire like we go from point 7, which is a negative, of course, to a ratio of 1.5 on a early phase of our launch, right?
Okay.
And point 0.7 to 1.5 is something, that number where I know if I'm at 0.5, 0.7, 0.6, 0.7, I need to do a couple of changes or iteration. This will go towards 1 or go towards above 1, that ratio, right? And if you have that 1.2 or 3 or 4x number on very beginning, in general, that also give you a leeway and confidence. You can spend back that extra money to improve more, because the first version is not complete anyway, right? So aspiration is always to keep increasing that LTV CAC number. And now LTV किसके ऊपर calculate करोगे आप? LTV करोगे आप based on your retention number in general. Like अगर आपकी day 7 less than 10% है, right? और in that case तो आपको 7 दिन के हिसाब से LTV दिखना पड़ेगा. And if you have retention which is coming like 10%, which is day 180, in that case, then basis on that you check the LTV, like you make your cohort on month, and how this retention is going off, and how much you end up making from the same user who is taking for the 6 month. For example, first I made 2 rupees, and then based on retention making 30 paisa every month is pick, and eventually you're making it 5. I'm just giving an example, of course, it's not. So you reach at, let's say, 5 rupees by end of this, and if you have to, so it should be less than 3 rupees or 2 rupees or the CAC, right? if you have to stay. So ultimately, we typically go in that direction only. We try to, based on the retention number, we try to recalculate, okay, this is the price where I should get a user, then only it makes sense for me as a publisher. Otherwise, I have to keep improving my product, or I have to shut down that product and move to a new product. So that's how I take my code. And so yeah, I guess this more or less about
Yeah. Also, I think it's Venus, if I'm correct, like with specific, if your app is transactional based, which most of the commerce or banking or some of times gaming are, then their CAC to LTV ratio would be different versus if you're utility, then it is
yeah,
more towards 7 days and then the ad spend. So maybe focus on the category also. When you are looking at it, when you're calculating
correct.
your CAC to LTV.
Correct. But
I think
yeah, on a every like
Yeah,
anything like the ratio still remains the same in general.
yeah. Overall,
First idea is to
how
get
do you
your
calculate?
100 rupees back on the spend of 100 rupees, right? So this is the
Yeah,
first thing. This
yeah,
will give you enough like space to keep trying different creatives. A different distribution. B, right?
yeah,
As a product guy, you always think my product is good. You keep trying कि यार इसका quality अच्छा नहीं है, traffic अच्छा नहीं है, या
हाँ,
डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन टारगेटिंग मार्केटिंग वाला गलत कर रहा है, राइट? दीज आर द फर्स्ट
हाँ,
थिंग दैट टेक केयर, है ना? तो
Hmm.
so in that case, like the first target should try to identify those creatives which can give you LTV CAC 1, so that you are in the position you can attempt at least 10-20 different experiments like along with the same process. Yeah.
right.
Got it. Cool. So moving on to a similar question on these lines, like what is a good retention for a new app?
What is a good
हाँ,
retention for the okay?
So I
यार अगर आप
understand that obviously category wise it is different.
अगर हाँ कैटेगरी वाइज इट्स
हाँ,
डिफरेंट. अगर डे 30 आप अगर 18% 20% तक रख लेते हो डे 30,
Day 30, 20%.
yeah,
है.
20%
हाँ
day 30.
हाँ
yeah,
20% अगर आप रख लेते हो,
yeah,
स्टिकीनेस अच्छे, तो आप पक्का एड्स के ऊपर प्रॉफिटेबल हो सकते हो.
Okay.
लाइक अगर स्टिकीनेस अच्छे, अगर आपका प्रोडक्ट है माओ
mm,
प्रोडक्ट है, लाइक महीने में एक बार ही खुल रहा है, फिर तो
mm,
मतलब 70%
mm,
चाहिए, मतलब
mm,
केस के अंदर, राइट? तो
Hmm.
बट टिपिकली the best platforms onto the likes
mm,
of WhatsApp, they are at 80%, 75, 80%, 85% in general.
mm,
And probably those 15% the guys were using Telegram more.
mm,
But anyway, like more or less, these are the range that you aspire for, like above 15%, 18%. And if you are at 40, 50 in general, you are above average. Not above
mm.
average, you are at the top of the
Top,
product
yeah,
in general. You are at 40, 45 in general. The product like Truecaller or whom we know like in utility are very great
mm,
companies now. They would be at 60, 65, I feel.
six, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I think if you talk about like more gaming, for example, and specifically
yeah.
hyper casual, hybrid casual games,
No,
they tend to make all their money in the first couple of days,
Of
right?
yes,
course,
7 days,
Day
yeah,
three
7 days.
retentions,
7 days is
uh,
a thumb. Yeah.
day seven retentions are usually lower than 10% or 15%,
10%. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
in those cases, you kind of capture more day one retention.
right.
Like maximum by you were more particular about day one, day two, day three, day one, day three, D7.
Hmm.
And as what Venus said, that if you are towards more MAO or maybe weekly product or a monthly product or a daily product, then you kind of get into that category to 60 to 70%. We all use WhatsApp every day, so of course their DAUs are amazing. But we don't use a commerce platform maybe on daily basis. So their DAUs to MAU ratio would be very different.
Got it. Got it. One more question we have is around like, does any DSP or ad network gives any forecast numbers before starting a campaign, or does any DSP have a technique to stop spending if let's say the ROI is not there, or it's not delivering? So do you have
Right.
any examples where they can show projections? I've seen like projections on Google Ads, obviously,
Right.
but any
Yes.
other
Yes.
networks?
So that's a great feature actually, and a lot of DSPs are towards building towards it. That you put a bid to it, and the ads would stop performing if they are not able to achieve the bids that you are looking at, and hence some of them are building tools where you can automate the bids. The bids will increase over a period of time if they are not able to achieve it. The ad spends is overall the budget. So if you put a budget, if they have consumed the budget and then not achieve the ROI, they will kind of stop it. And also, at your end also, you put a limited budgets, to any, DSPs at an early stage, and then kind of, see which one is giving you a better ROI, and you kind of scale from, those DSPs.
Is DV360 a tool that a lot of publishers want to use or are using? Or I mean, with Google, it is mostly around, like specifically for apps, is it mostly around Google Ads?
I mean, DV360 is more of brand side that we have seen it with very less developers. We've seen it is able to drive performance, or maybe capture at scale their CPI objectives. Whereas AdSense, AdWords, YouTube, these are the more better tools that we have seen it in the Google ecosystem to kind of drive CPI.
Yeah. But I mean, with the brands, does DV360 give a lot more than what Google Ads or the other platforms give?
No.
It's the same. Okay. Cool. And then there's another question around what is the CPI that we can expect in India and US? I think Venus answered that question to a certain extent. But in India, you can start with Ishank mentioned that 0.1 to US dollar bids to begin with. In US is probably closer to $1. But again, this is a very subjective question. It depends on the category, the size of the app, on creatives, things, multiple things which go into it.
Yeah, correct.
Like a gaming in US, your objective is typically to get at 0.2 to 0.3 if you are in a hyper casual category. If you are in a casual category, then it will be a little higher. If you are in a slot gaming category, it will be a bit more competitive, because there are large publishers who are spending maybe $3, $5.
It can go.
It go to $7 sometimes.
Okay.
In the slot, it can go as high as $100 or $200 because paying capacity is very, very high as well. Like if they are making in-app purchases.
And what about utility apps? I mean, is it similar to hyper casual games, or is the number slightly higher?
यार typically अगर आप iOS की बात करोगे तो iOS में in India it'll go somewhere around $0.7 $0.8 to somewhere around $2. It'll keep varying between this. Again, as you mentioned, is the multiple factors like content, product, and stuff like this. But this would be the range. And at the same time, on in India, like it can be as low as 4 or 5 rupees, and it can go as high as like 15, 17, 18 rupees, like in general. So this would be the range.
Excellent, guys. Excellent. So I think we have covered most of the questions. Thanks a lot for being with us, all the attendees, as well as Ishank and Venus. You are most welcome to reach out to all of us. I've put the credentials on the slide. Just before leaving, I think there's one question which is around: is there a simple approach to educate and encourage indie developers to try marketing and revenue generation processes and tools? So I think there's no simple approach. All of us are trying to make things simpler. But eventually, I think it's about iterative process, trying out multiple things from what we understand. I mean, even in terms of tools, there are multiple tools, and some tools might work for you, some tools might work for someone else. It's not that any tool is good or bad per se, but it depends on your app and your approach. So I think that answers that. One last question from both of you is, if you can share some ending comments, and what are the top metrics that being CEOs and founders of your companies, you always check the first thing in the morning, right? What are the metrics which are very, very close to you, and people here should be looking at day, at least once in a day?
Yeah. For me, like top of the funnel metrics is download stickiness, and
Stickiness is DAU
to
per
MAU ratio.
MAU.
DAU by MAU ratio. in general, and stickiness, downloads, your uninstall rate in general, and negative reviews typically. So these are the 4 or 5 things, and revenue, of course. So these are the 4 or 5 things I typically check on a daily level for every app. Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, for us as a platform, we look at how many apps and games are we promoting, and how many users we are bringing to them on a daily basis, and where there is a drop of users. So certain days the users are doing better, certain days the users are very low, and we kind of try to look at the campaigns at scale and find out what happened. We're still not in the publishing business yet, so DAU and MAUs for our customers are more important, than for us.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Cool. Great, guys. Thanks a lot. Again, everyone. Any last comments? Any of you have for the publishers who are attending? Yeah.
Guys, you
We
can feel to reach
Yeah,
us on
right.
Instagram, mail, like in general. Mail IDs are there on the sheet
Yeah,
right now. So you can reach us. Would happy to connect and discuss in general. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think if you're based out of Surat, you're most welcome to our office in Surat. I think Venus and we both are based out of Delhi and Bombay, so we should host up more developer communities, maybe smaller talks to kind of educate and help our friends in developing ecosystem. It's not about developing apps; it's about you know growing those apps and making money out of those apps. Uh, apps बहुत सारे लोग बना रहे हैं, so
Yeah.
that's
By
the
the
journey
way,
that
guys,
we
ये
take.
trend चल रहा है, बहुत ज़्यादा चलेगा generative AI के around. As you're
Yes,
seeing that coming around website, we so one thing that we are doing differently given the market scenario is changing. We also feel like these trends would definitely going to change the course, and we
right.
can all become those building block for this. And for the same purpose, like we started building APIs. We've got more than 30 40 APIs like AI background remover, AI object replacer, AI product photography, uh, AI wallpaper generator, AI t-shirt generator, right? Imagine AI QR code generator, right? So we have got all those APIs that we are building, and first we are trying those APIs on our product only. So our products in generative AI are already out. We've launched more than 5 apps, generating somewhere around 3 lakh images per day on our apps right now, and editing more than 3 lakh images again as well parallelly on the side. So mostly you can all build such products using these APIs, and happy to share the entire stack along with you.
Yeah, I think one thing which I can mention about both our panelists is that you can reach out to them whenever you like, and they would be more than happy to help. Because this is an ecosystem which all of us are growing in. So always, looking forward to meet, people who are working in this. So once again, thanks everyone for attending this, and you can reach out to us on the given links. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bye
guys.
bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Venus. Bye, Arpit. See you soon.
Bye. See you soon.